This is DRF Race of the Day. Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF Race of the Day for Saturday, June the 26th. 3-year-olds running in the Grade 3 Ohio Derby. Let's throw up the field for race number 9 at Thistledown on Saturday. This race is worth $500,000, and you can download free Formulator Pass performances on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Access them, handicap along with us. Mike Todd Pletcher ships in the Peter Pan winner, the number 1 Promise Keeper, a horse that just seems to be getting better with each start, and Todd seems to find the right spots for him.
Yeah, so far they've brought him along a little bit slowly, I guess, Dan. But I mean, you're talking about a trainer here with Pletcher who they did 4 in the Derby, 3 in the Belmont. He has obviously Known Agenda, who's a good horse. I think this is his best 3-year-old. And
he's only really run one bad race. I'm not going to fault the career debut sprinting against a good sprinting 3-year-old in Candyman Rocket. This horse wants to go longer. The Tampa Bay Derby was just a disastrous performance. He's bounced back, and he's done it with more tactical speed. Let's watch the Timeform U.S. pace projector. Promise Keeper expected to take advantage of that inside post and stay close to the pace. Channel Fury, one of the local horses, is stretching out, and I would expect him to make the front, but I think Promise Keeper would be very happy sitting second or third off of that horse.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll see how fast they go. I don't necessarily know that they're going to have to go a fast pace in here. Dan, he's perfectly drawn on the inside. He's got great tactical speed. And as we'll see when we watch the replay of the Peter Pan, this horse really finishes in his race. His last 2 efforts in particular, just watch the way he finishes in those races. This horse has some talent.
Let's watch the Peter Pan. Promise Keeper was able to stay right up close to a moderate pace. He's going to take a really strong challenge from Nova Rags. Nova Rags has the momentum on Promise Keeper, but Promise Keeper just digs in, and he's easily getting away from Nova Rags at the wire. And this race came on the heels of a race at Keeneland where he didn't break very well, and once he got to the outside, it was over.
Yeah, both of those races at 1 1/8 too. I think that's something to take note of. And he just reaches for ground at the end of his races. This horse, really like his last 2 efforts. Dan, we'll see what kind of price he is. I don't know that he's a horse who should necessarily be favored in here. And if he is, maybe that would lead you in another direction, perhaps. But I think this horse is good.
Falcons Fury, the number 2, is a very consistent horse based in Ohio. He's hit the board in his last 4, but he's taking on a really tough task from a class standpoint, and his figures pale in comparison to those of the top contenders.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a really hard horse to make a case for. We'll see what he does in here. He's going to be a huge price.
Hosier was second in the Grade 2 Rebel 3 starts back and then bombed badly in the Arkansas Derby. After that race, Bob Baffert was considering running him in the Kentucky Derby. Supposedly, he was not training up to par, and instead, they ran him in the Sir Barton on the Preakness undercard. And let's watch that race. This horse is 3-5 in here. He got a great trip down on the inside. The King Cheek is a New York-bred exclaimer who's a fine horse, but Hosier's supposed to win this race, isn't he?
Yeah, not a good loss for Hosier here. I mean, this was really a race too, Dan, where it just sort of felt like he could maybe, prove a little something in this race because he did feel like a horse who got better once Baffert stretched him out, broke his maiden around 2 turns. He was an okay second in the Rebel with a perfect closer's trip. It just felt like the Sir Barton was the place for him to sort of maybe stamp himself as a 3-year-old to watch, and he bombed pretty badly.
King Fury, the number 4, has always shown ability. He was a stakes winner as a 2-year-old around 2 turns at Churchill Downs, and he returned off a pretty lengthy layoff in the Grade 3 Lexington at Keeneland. Now, he caught a sloppy track, and he got a fast pace, but watch how he wins this race. And remember, it's not like he made this 1-run close from the back and benefited from a fast pace. He was on the move along the inside on the backstretch, gaining substantial ground, and he was able to sustain that move in the lane.
Yeah, I looked at the race the exact same way. I know that you could sort of pick this race apart a little bit and, with the sloppy track and the fast pace and feel like he took advantage. I personally felt like he ran a pretty big race in there in his 3-year-old debut. And this is a horse who, he was a stakes winner as a 2-year-old. It's worth pointing out, he had some real excuses in his 3 losses against some better horses. He ran better than it looks more than once in those races. This horse is pretty good. We'll see how he bounces back. He was supposed to run the Derby. Spiked to fever and had to scratch. Looks like he's training very quickly on the way back.
Boy, certainly does. 58 and change on June the 12th at Churchill Downs. Lasix on for trainer Kenny McPeak. Ethical Judgment is the number 5. Ethical Judgment scored last time out on the engine at Churchill Downs, but it wasn't off the turf race. Solid performance for a good trainer in Brendan Walsh. Tactical as well. Doesn't need the lead. Don't think he'll get it.
I don't think he'll get it either if this pace is fast, but he should be forward. He's looked pretty good in his dirt races, Dan. This is be the first time they run him in a scheduled dirt race. But he's looked good on the main track. The only loss to Folsom. That horse looks like he could be a pretty major 3-year-old the second half of the year as well. So there's nothing wrong with that loss to that horse. And he ran well last time. He was drifting a little bit at the end of that race last time, which bothered me. Now they're going to go 1 1/8, but so far so good on dirt for this horse.
And the number 6, Hello Hot Rod, is a half-brother to the talented Mid-Atlantic-based sprinter Hello Beautiful. This horse sold for about $335,000 earlier this year after winning the Jimmy Winkfield. They ran him in the Tessio going 2 turns, and I was very surprised when I talked to the trainer before the race. They said they didn't want the lead with him. And you would think being a stretch-out sprinter in a race like that, you'd want the lead. Well, they were true to their word. They didn't want the lead with him. I thought all in all he ran fine. Send him with the addition of Lasix, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why trainers are so reluctant to use speed like it's some kind of a negative. It's always a positive in dirt racing. And he ran fine without the lead, as you say, last time, Dan. And I guess in some ways he showed that he can stretch out a little bit. I still want to see him do it again against better horses.
The number 7, the Reds, was placed first in that Federico Tessio, where Hello Hot Rod finished 4th. Came back in this race, the Pennine Ridge, and off the turf. Just a nice spot John Kimmel found for him. He's got the momentum on the far turn, but St. Hood's odds on for a reason. St. Hood's pretty good, and he's going to battle back and beat the Reds. But there's something here for the Reds, and 1 1/8, he really likes it.
Yeah, it's a good distance for him. These were the 2 horses in this Pennine Ridge. Once it came off the turf, St. Hood and the Reds were in the right spot here as horses with dirt form, and they ran 1-2 in here. I thought the Reds ran fine, Dan. There was some talk that May 29th was maybe, after all the rain came, maybe a speed favoring track. I didn't necessarily see it that way. If you saw it that way, though, maybe the Reds has a little bit of an excuse.
Keepmeinmind was 3rd in last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile and then backed that up with a graded stakes victory at Churchill Downs. Maybe he's underperformed this year. I guess his Preakness was a better performance, although it was a fast pace. There wasn't a ton of running late, and he kind of just clunked up to get 4th. Lasix on, blinkers on, and maybe a fast pace that all works to this horse's favor. Another one that's training very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what he does. He's going to have to take a step forward at some point. Maybe he'll do it here as he gets a little bit of class relief out of the Derby and the Preakness. Neither one of those were poor performances at all. He was no factor at the end, but it's not like he ran terribly in either of those races. We'll see if he gets the right trip here and takes and improves a little bit. He's got to improve to beat some of these horses.
I really wonder if we'll see enhanced tactical speed. You see after the Preakness, he shows up at Belmont and he breezes a half and 46 and change, and then he comes back with 5/8 and 58 and change. I'm assuming the blinkers were on for those workouts. Maybe he can be closer because kind of the lack of tactical speed was one of the big knocks against him.
I mean, that's true. I don't know what to say, Dan. I mean, after the Bluegrass, before the Kentucky Derby, he breezed 46 before that race, too. He was still last early.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just seems like the kind of horse who just doesn't have any early speed.
I'm not sure what to make of Proxy. He finished behind King Fury last time out in the Lexington, but he has already made excuse for that race. I have a feeling he just didn't care for the sloppy track. I don't know. I just didn't love his Louisiana Derby, and he was facing some good horses in Hot Rod Charlie and Midnight Bourbon, and before that, Mandaloon. So he's kept good company. Blinkers come off for Mike Stidham, who's having a tremendous year. This horse can win, and for some reason, I'm just not excited.
I'm the same way. I'm not really sold on him yet, but he can win this race. And you're talking about a horse who ran a 97 in February, Dan. I mean, if he improves at all now that he's had a little more time, he's supposed to be a major player in here. I don't think the 1 1/8 is really an issue for him. I'm not buying into him yet, but man, I mean, it's really hard to knock this horse based on what he's done so far.
Where did Mask Parade's last race come from for a very good trainer in Al Stall? Stretched out to 1 1/8 for the first time. He won by the length of the stretch at Churchill Downs with a 97 Beyer speed figure. Al Stall's not fooling around, right up into the graded stakes ranks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we'll see if he can back it up. 97, it was a 97 visually for sure when you go and watch the race. I mean, he always looked like he was going to win. walked right up on that field around the turn and blew him away through the stretch. He was really impressive last time. We'll see if he can back it up.
And Channel Fury, the expected pace setter, according to Timeform US, stretching out 3 furlongs after a victory at Thistledown. But another horse, obviously stepping up in class and distance, and the pace could be tough for him.
Yeah, caught a pretty tough running of the Ohio Derby, to be sure. There's some good horses shipping in here, so this horse has to up his game.
Top pick time for Saturday's DRF race of the day. We both like King Fury. We both realize the challenges. He's going to have to win this race off a little bit of a layoff, an illness-induced layoff, and his big win did come over a sloppy track. But I like the way he won that Lexington.
I did too. I liked him as a 2-year-old, and I liked the way he won his Lexington as well. So I'm going to stick with him in here. Hope that he's ready to go. For me, it was between him and Promise Keeper, Dan. Promise Keeper's the shorter price on the morning line, and I want the better price in this race. But I like the 2 of them. I like the 1 and the 4.
I'm going to go with King Fury over Keep Me in Mind and Proxy. 2 horses that have just kept good company this year, and certainly Promise Keeper. He could be anything for Todd Pletcher. Interesting race. Nice race, the Grade 3 Ohio Derby. Perhaps a prep for the Travers this year. You never know. 4157 for Mike, 4891 for me. Best of luck.